Okay, Kathy.
Magdi, with the shift that happened, I'm going to call it a shift or awakening, whatever word you want to use. When that happened for you, or after that happened, how do you experience yourself now? I know you don't experience yourself as a self, but what's the experience?
Uh, it's really fascinating in that the shift, when the shift, hello Manish, the shift, whenever the shift happens, it's more the absence of me than the presence of me. The presence that let's say permeates the space is not a me presence. It's more peace, tranquility, intelligence. Hello, Linda. Uh, so they're not me qualities. They're not personal qualities. The qualities that manifest are more like a perfume, the perfume of peace, the perfume of love, the perfume of wisdom. At the uh, at the presence level, there is an expansion, like a borderless quality, which is quite in contrast to the usual me sense that is sort of a personal, contained feeling, a sort of a contracted feeling. So it's more uh, a, uh, a peace and a deep equanimity that is not dependent, is not contingent upon anything. In other words, irrespective of the weather, both external, internal events that happen, situations that occur, um, uh, in in spite of the events that may happen, the peace and the equanimity are uh, undisturbed. So I like to use the term causeless peace and happiness.
Nice. I have a question about that borderless presence that you talked about. So, okay, so then you're not feeling the your container. You're not as aware of like the air against your skin or something like that. So, I mean, are you seeing yourself as the whole moment of everything you can see in the room? It,
It's more an absence of a self and the presence of peace and tranquility. So, like right now, in terms of a perception, I perceive what you perceive, but from a different angle. Obviously, I'm not sitting in your house in your seat. So I'm perceiving the screen. You're perceiving whatever you're perceiving. So the perception is just a perception, but the quality of the experience is completely absent of any stirring, of any angst, of any issues, of any problems, of any need to do anything. Of course, when there is hunger or thirst, then there is, at the proper time, we would just serve the meal or, grab something to drink. So, but it's all easy flow. It's all natural, the natural, simple flow.
do you feel you're mindful most of the time, and are you basically in the present moment mindful? Would you say, or would that not be accurate?
I just want to make a little comment. In your question, you say, "Do you feel this? Do you feel
Oh.
that?" No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just it's part of clarifying. The question that you're posing. Uh, there is not a sense of a me in the personal sense. The it's more it's more like when you're in deep sleep, or even in the night dream, let's say you're in a night dream,
Okay.
and you're dreaming that you're walking on the beach, but there is a lucidity to the dream. Sometimes it might happen that there is a dream that's really lucid. In other words, the perception is clear. There is a clear perception, a clear sense of the breeze, of and the sound of the waves, and the heat of the sun on your skin. But you know, that you're not that person on the beach. Yet the sensations are very real. You're not a person. There isn't like a sense of being anything. There is a beingness, but this beingness it's not a mind experience. I moved away from your question. Can you repeat your last question?
I was trying to get a handle on. I mean, I've been playing with mindfulness during the day, trying to be mindful of my body, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, once the shift happened, I would imagine it's not as much a practice anymore or effort, but do you feel you're mindful most of the
Right.
time?
No, there is no mindfulness. You have to be careful with the mindfulness exercise. Whenever you're doing mindfulness exercise, rather than being mindful of the world, or mindful of the body, or mindful of the mind, meaning rather than being mindful about what you're perceiving, oh, I am mindful, I am watching a tree, I am right now mindful, I'm driving on 495, I am mindful, I am opening the door to my car, I am mindful, I am thinking about New York City, I am mindful, I am feeling my leg, rather than being mindful of the object, whether it's a perception or a sensation or a thought. It's the mindfulness is about being mindful of the mind of the mindfuler. In other words, it's being mindful of consciousness, not being mindful of what is rising on the screen. It's to be mindful of the screen. In other words, to somehow bring your attention and your energy back to the behind the scene and not into the scene. Because if you are mindful of the scene, it is endless. It is an endless activity, endless practice that only has one gain. And the gain is that it will sharpen your concentration. But sharpened concentration is of no use for awakening. It's very good if you are, I don't know, a technician or a surgeon, or if you have specific skills that require the sharpening of your focus. It's very good. But in terms of realizing your true nature, rather than focusing, meaning mindfulness, defocus. Come to the presence. In other words, come to behind, as if pre-perception, as if pre-manifestation, pre-phenomenal events, to what is it that perceives, not as a mental question, not the mental question, what is it that's perceiving these words, but to go with your entire being there, to go to whatever that is that perceives this perception.
Wait, Magdi, there's somebody I think with an open mic, and because you've been cutting in and out, and I've been
Okay.
getting noise interference. Can you? It
Yeah,
sounds.
sure. 1 moment. Let me see what I can do.
Okay.
Just a little warning for everybody here. That if you're joining and you don't have a question, you're just listening for now. If you can mute your mic, yeah, and or else use headphones. This way we will not have any echo interference. I'm not sure. I just lowered everybody's volume, but if you are on board and you're just listening, please mute your mic and unmute it when you want to speak. Okay, I have no interference on my end.
I have interference on my
Yes,
end.
I do hear an interference now. Maybe it's Betty. Betty, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, hello, Betty. If you could uh, look into muting your mic.
Okay. I don't know quite how to do it, but we'll work
Oh,
on it.
okay. If you move your cursor around
I'm
on
on a
on the screen.
I'm on an iPad, so I don't know
Oh,
how to do this.
oh, okay. All right, let me see. Maybe I can do that for you. One moment. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Actually, it looks like I cannot do that for you, Betty, because you're not appearing on my. Okay, so just then uh, if you can't mute your mic, then just make sure that you're in a place where there isn't any noise around.
Okay.
That should work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this better?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know about Kathy, but I'm good. Sound
I,
wise.
yeah, I can. It is better unless Betty talks. I'm not hearing her now.
Okay.
So thank you, Betty.
I'm
So
sorry.
I've lost you, Magdi, but I'm assuming you'll.
I hear you. I hear you,
Okay. Okay. Great.
and I see you.
Okay. Uh, I lost you again, so I got Betty. I'm looking at Betty.
Okay, well, just go click on my image. Go down in the bottom. Can you see?
I have you back now. Yes. Great.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks. So you were just making a really important point that I didn't that's most helpful for me. We were talking about mindfulness and you said don't focus mindfully on your body or the content, focus on the screen.
Right.
And quite frankly, I I hear those words and I understand, but I don't know how to implement at all.
Okay. Okay. So right now you hear these words, right?
Yes.
And you're perceiving this perception.
Yes.
So there is the hearing, or there is the perception of the screen, but also there is something. I use the word something, but it's not really a thing. There is something that perceives. In other words, the perception can change. If you turn your head to the right now and you look at the wall, the perception has changed. In other words, the content, the image has changed, but the screen, the fact of perceiving, there is still something that perceives. It's like a television screen. A television screen, there are images that change, but there is a screen. It's a metaphor, but there is a screen that's there, irrespective of the changing quality of the perception or the changing quality of the thought. There is something that perceives, and this something is right here, right now, hearing my words, hearing these words. Yes.
Yes, it's aware. Yes.
Yes. And this something is you. I mean, you are hearing these words.
Yes, I understand I'm hearing these words, and I also
No, 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 no,
understand.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Not you understand. You hear these words. I'm not talking about understanding. I'm talking about actually. You actually hear these words.
Yes,
Yes, not understanding. You can understand a million things. You're just actually hearing these words. You know, you're aware of the hearing.
I am aware of hearing.
Of hearing, right? Now, the hearing is changes. Like for example, right now, I'm going to be silent. But you're still present. You're present
Yes,
to the silence. This you is this awareness is what I refer to as awareness or presence or what's behind. Well, it's not really behind in a physical sense. I'm using the word behind metaphorically, but that's what sort of precedes, again, metaphorically speaking, the the hearing, the image, because what's on the screen can change. The image can change. But even when there is silence, presence continues. You follow?
Yes, very much. The only thing is that I can't tangibly kind of lock into that in
Right,
any way.
because you're trying to lock into it via your mind. In other words, you're using the improper tool to perceive awareness. It's like let's say you use binoculars, okay, to look at the sky, right? At the stars at night. You use binoculars, right?
Yes.
Now, it's perfect. You're looking at the stars and you see the moon and you see whatever, nebulas and so on with the telescope or with the binocular. Now, what you're trying to do is to use the binoculars to see yourself. Imagine you have binoculars in your hands right now.
Yeah.
You're saying, I'm unable to see consciousness, to see myself, to get a feeling of, by using the binoculars, you cannot see yourself. The eye cannot see itself. You're using the improper instrument. You're using a phenomenal instrument to perceive the nominal. You can only know the nominal, meaning the formless, via the formless. You can only know the nominal via the nominal directly. Nominal knows nominal through being. Nominal knows phenomenal through instruments, but it is still the nominal that gets the knowledge, because the instrument has no knowledge. You can use the binoculars to look at a bird, and it's not the binoculars that see the bird, that perceive the bird. It is you.
Yes, I'm very much following you. So are you saying that my being, my existence is what is perceiving myself as awareness? I don't know how to put these words together.
Well, it depends what you mean by your being. If by your being you mean universal consciousness, meaning the intelligent, universal, aware presence that right now hears these words, yes, it is the awareness that knows itself, that it can know itself. For example, if I ask you right now, are you here?
Yes.
You will answer yes, and the way you answered yes is because you went and checked. You didn't go to the bathroom, or you didn't go to the backyard looking for coffee. You went straight to yourself. You asked yourself, gee, am I here? And you answered yes. Now, where did you go to answer me, yes, I am here?
I mean, it was just obvious. I mean, I exist. It was, where did I go? I don't think I went anywhere.
Yes, you didn't go anywhere physically. You didn't get up from your seat and went looking for yourself in the drawer, but you went somewhere nominally. You went to yourself. Consciousness went straight to itself and said, gee, am I here? And consciousness answered yes. So it's, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. I'm not.
It's not a guess so. I asked you a very plain question, are you here? And without guessing so, you said, yes, I am. It was not a guess so. You actually said, yes, I am.
Yeah, I hope I am here, but
no, not about your hope. Okay, let me ask you another question. Are you hearing these words?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same question. How did did you answer yes? Where did you go to answer yes?
Well, that's the problem I'm having. I didn't go any place specifically, and I think that's what I'm sort of trying to find. So maybe as you say, I have the wrong tool I'm looking for. How
Yes.
did I know I heard
You,
you? I heard you.
yeah, you didn't go somewhere specifically in the phenomenal realm, but nominally, meaning not physically. Consciousness is something went and checked. There was a checking in. Am I hearing these words? So you went to you, consciousness, you presence, you awareness, went to the awareness and asked awareness, hello awareness, are you hearing these words? Are you perceiving this perception? Awareness said, yeah, yes. You didn't go to Kathy. That was, you didn't go uh, to your history book, or you didn't go to your file cabinet and you looked up Kathy, because Kathy is stories, memories, thoughts, and you didn't go to your stories. You went directly to your experience. In other words, you went directly to consciousness. Consciousness went directly to itself. This is why it is said that consciousness is self-knowing. The self, know thyself. Know thyself is not know thyself as Megdi, as Kathy, as Jewel. It's know thyself as consciousness. When consciousness knows itself and knows itself as being the reality of this experience, and the only reality, and the universal reality. In other words, the same reality that right now speaks these words is the reality that hears these words. Whether you're in Tanzania, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Africa, well, it doesn't matter where you are. The same reality that hears these words is that speak these words. When you come to that understanding, both at the mental level and at the entire feeling level, then you know it. Then you know yourself.
Yes, I still see it as a personal rather than an impersonal consciousness.
Well, the personal consciousness is not a problem. It arises, like, for example, your personal dog, if you have a dog, arises, walks into your living room or walks into your office. That's, you say, oh, my personal dog just arised. No big deal. Yeah, I don't have a personal dog, but, so that's the personal arises. In other words, the phenomenal arises in the nominal. The personal arises in the nominal, in the consciousness, in awareness, but it does not define what you are. It does not. The fact that you're perceiving Kathy, as an image or as a thought or as a bodily sensation, does not mean that you are this bodily sensation. You are perceiving it. You're perceiving this perception, but that does not mean that's what you are. It does not define you. What you perceive does not define you.
That's helpful because from some reading I'd done, I guess I misunderstood it, and I sort of thought when that shift did happen, that I would be the entire present moment experience.
Well, you one moment. You are both the consciousness that perceives, and as well as whatever is perceived. For example, right now, you're hearing these words, yes?
Yes.
And you're perceiving this perception, right?
Yes.
Okay, so ask yourself, how far is this perception from me?
I guess it's not far at all.
Well, no, I don't guess. Just
Okay.
answer without guessing. How far is this perception, whatever you're hearing right now, some noises? I think that maybe Betty, if you could mute your mic or just
Okay.
Try to reduce the ambient noise. I think it's coming from you, please. Thank you, Betty.
No distance.
No distance. So what is the meaning of no distance? If there is no distance between object A and object B, in other words, no distance between you and this perception, meaning they're one. Are you with me, or am I?
Yeah.
Zero distance, meaning absence of distance, means they're one. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so therefore, the object that you perceive, meaning this screen, referring to it as an object, meaning this perception, this phenomenal event, which is a perception, and you, the consciousness that perceives this phenomenal event, are not two. Right? That's you're speaking that from your experience.
Yes, from my consciousness, there is not two. I mean, naturally, from my little personal, there'd be two. But right, from consciousness, there's no distance. I'm with you.
Right, right. So therefore, the phenomenal event and you, consciousness, are not two. So consciousness is both consciousness in the purest sense, meaning conscious of itself, and also appears or manifests or takes on the form of a perception. But they remain as one, like water becomes steam, but the steam is made out of, it's that water that's taking on the form of steam and then comes back to water.
Wow.
It's a metaphor, yes. Like in the desert, in mirage, the heat takes on the form of an oasis and then comes back to heat. You follow?
I do.
So because there is zero distance in your experience, we're not doing any conjunction or writing a theoretical paper. We're looking directly at our experience.
So the computer screen, as far as my consciousness goes, that's part of my consciousness.
Yes, your consciousness. Not your consciousness. Well, okay, let's say your consciousness, which is universal consciousness. The consciousness of consciousness takes on the form of this perception, of this image, of this sensation, of this thought. It morphs. It morphs, and that's. I like to refer to that. That's God's love for creativity and the celebration of its freedom to create. It's constantly creating, like this moment by moment is creation.
Wow, lovely, lovely, lovely. I do.
The key thing is that it's not dual. It's not dual. In other words, God, meaning consciousness, is not looking at a world out there. The world is God's manifestation out of itself.
Very nice. Now, I just want to back up because you were very generous, because when I said your or my consciousness or whatever, I still was thinking personal rather than universal. I guess I don't know how to make that jump, that shift.
Yeah, well, the personal consciousness is like you are in the night dream, you're sleeping, and you're dreaming you are a 12-year-old fairy that's flying over a beach that's made out of crystals and rubies and light. Okay.
Sounds good.
So you at that moment in your dream you believe that you are this fairy, this 12-year-old fairy or ageless fairy, right? So that's the personal consciousness when you take yourself to be that what's appearing in your dream, and you forget that you are the dreamer, which can be very lovely. Like, for example, when we go to the movies to watch a movie for like 2 hours or whatever, we choose to forget. Hello, Rena. We choose to forget that we are actually sitting in the theater, and we dream that we are Juliet or Romeo. We we choose to forget. But that's fun. It's very beautiful to go to the movies or to go to the theater and forget that you are Kathy and forget that you're Magdi and just totally get into the creative show. But the key thing is that we remember, well, in the movie, after 2 hours, we remember, oh, gee, okay, I was not that person on the screen. I was being, whatever was going on for them. Or we don't, if we're watching Juliet and Romeo and Juliet, we don't leave the theater and now we live like we're Juliet.
That's true. It's time to go
Go
home.
to work and we say, oh, I'm Juliet. What do you mean? I'm supposed to, no, that would be foolish. So in a way, that's what happens. From a young age, we inherit, and we have like a program that's downloaded in us that I am Magdi, or I am Kathy, or I am Rena, or I am Betty, whatever that's downloaded in us, and we live our entire life with that as that character. And the sad thing about it is that this character that we identify with at a very young age is the body mind. We said, okay, you are, Kathy and so on, but you also are this body mind, and body mind is mortal, right?
Yes.
It is mortal. So therefore, we inherit the virus of mortality, and we live with the virus of mortality, fear and anxiety throughout our entire the entire life of the body. There is that seed of unhappiness and fear of death and anxiety. What's going to happen to me when how can I be happy? As soon as we inherit mortality, meaning we inherit the belief that I am the mortal body mind, we have a conflict because we've been pulled away from the whole. And when we get pulled away from the whole, naturally we yearn
Yes.
to reunite with our mother. We yearn to reunite with God, to reunite with the wholeness. But unfortunately, the download of ignorance tells us not only that we are a mortal body mind, but it also tells us that we will be happy if we go and get a good husband or a good wife, build a good house, have a good job, have a lot of possessions, and get to be a beautiful, strong man, a beautiful lady that's never ages, the hair stays flowing and beautiful, and all of this stuff, and we go after it. So we're constantly going after, or we're resisting. Or we don't want to age. We don't want our hair to turn gray. We don't want to have an ache in our shoulder. We don't want our house with so we're constantly going after or resisting, and that's extremely exhausting at the psychological level and at the physical level. It's not fun. You follow?
Very much so.
It's not fun. So at some point we say, wait a minute, I'm exhausted. I could see this body, coming closer and closer to extinction, and I don't see a way out of that. And so we become very depressed, and we live the rest of our life depressed in depression, and just regrets and sorrow, and that's it. It's in some cases, and this is a case of the group here. In some cases, we realize, wait a minute, maybe I'm not this mortal body mind, and so we stop and we start to investigate, and then through the investigation, there is a revelation. And there is understanding, and there is a softening and a weakening of the conditioning of the ignorance. This belief system and the sense of being a me starts to weaken, and the more we investigate, the more we look at it, it starts to come apart. until it becomes a non-issue. It ceases to be the the mode via which we perceive.
Yes, on a practical daily level, how would I begin to deconstruct that me belief?
Okay, so on the practical level, day-to-day level, rather than living as Kathy, rather than living as a woman, rather than living as a mother, a sister, a daughter, live as pure presence, live as borderless, universal, aware, awake, loving presence.
I know this is going to sound like such an element. That's beautiful, Magdi. It's sort of like I don't know how to bring that down.
No, do it. Do it. Just do it. Stop iffing yourself. Do it. Live that way. We all know the way of love. We all know the way of presence. We all know the way of openness. That's not something we need to learn. What we learned is the Kathy way, the Magdi way, the worried way, the I need to become this and I need to have that. All that is extra. All that's extra. But our true nature, we don't need to learn our true nature. We don't need to know to learn presence, love, kindness, openness, trust, and that we don't need to learn. That's given, but we have to live it. We have to be willing to walk that way. We have to be willing to do that, because if you don't, then the program will continue. Because the program is there, it's wired. The Kathy, the me Kathy, me Reina, me whatever, me Linda, continues, and we continue to carrying our past stories, our past histories. The me, my mother, my father, my brother, what my mother did to me, what my uncle, my cousin, my daughter, my son. That's
Endless.
That's endless, and nothing will stop that if you do not choose to live day to day, as your question was, as the pure presence, pure awareness. Because you have to trust me. And so when these emotions and feelings arise to you, don't argue with them. Don't try to change them. Just live as the presence. Live as the open sky that does not argue with the clouds that arise. Live as the water that does not argue if the heat becomes very high and turns into steam, or if it becomes really cold and turns into ice. It doesn't argue. Live as the presence, and allow your body to experience whatever sensation arises without you as consciousness trying to change it. Don't live according to your personal agenda about your feelings and your thoughts and the events in your life. God takes care of these things. You just live as the path of God. Live the path of truth. If you truly are genuine about your question,
yeah,
then you live that way. Whatever arises in your body, mind, in the world, do not argue with it. Consciousness does not argue with the weather, does not argue with world wars, does not argue with tornadoes, does not argue with love and peace. It does not argue, period. And at the body level, mostly that's where things really happen, are difficult for all of us, is our feeling level. We feel like so lousy. We feel depressed. We feel it in our throat, in our chest. I know that. But to that, you have to remain present. Don't try to rescue that. Don't try to fix it, because if you try to fix your feelings, it is endless. It's by remaining present and still to whatever arises that the peace and the equanimity and the qualities of our nature, of our true nature, of what we truly are, become more and more prevalent, become more and more our experience, rather than the argumentative and mind. You see, you don't only argue in your mind, you argue in your body too. So when you cease your arguments, you don't just cease your arguments in your mind, you also cease your arguments in your body at the feeling level. So you have to be willing, and you have to trust God.
Well, that's lovely. I mean, and I can see where it really is walking a path, and I can see the loving. I can see the open-hearted loving, but the neutrality that you talked about can be tough sometimes, Magdi.
Well, how to say in French, c'est l'appétit en mangeant. As you practice makes easy. Is that an expression? Practice makes easy.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes. In the beginning, it might seem to be, but you can take it step by step, little by little. Work with the little things. And if you fail, quote unquote fail, don't buy into failure and success. It's just your willingness to try to live this way. Your willingness to explore that direction is enough. Forget about succeeding or failing, because that once you get into success or failure, self-judgment is it's like please, forget about that. I mean, we've all been there. We all know how to do that. Big deal. Okay, so let's leave that alone. Just handle what you can, but explore, experiment. You surprise yourself. You would surprise yourself about how something might seem really, really impossible, and as you get closer, it meaning like you're still in the stillness. Distance becomes zero. It's in the resistance or in the pursuit that there is distance. When you're trying to pursue something, it runs away from you faster and faster. And when you're trying to resist something, it comes at you faster and faster. But when in the stillness, there is zero distance. You would be surprised how this fear or this anger or this depression or these emotions, they just dissolve in the presence. They dissolve in the presence. So experiment with it.
Yes.
At your own pace, at your own. There is not a competition. There's nobody with a clock timing you. Just experiment with it at your own pace, but definitely do. So the answer to your question is to live it, experiment with it in your life.
Yeah, and one side question: where does meditation fit in with all this?
As soon as you become interested in truth, you're already in meditation. As soon as you contemplate, like you're contemplating right now, you are in meditation. Meditation is when you love the truth, when you start to contemplate these questions about reality, that's meditation. It's not a particular practice.
Thank you so much. It's just beautiful. I really hope that this recording is available. Thank you.
Yeah. This recording is available. I will let you know later on. I think it'll go on YouTube, but I will share it with you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Linda.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, my mortal body mind has an issue that I would like to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel a little bit foolish because it's just a me thing. But anyway, I would like to learn how to speak up and say what I want in a loving way. What's been happening is that I was in a little group in a little group online. I'm in Australia, but this group was in America, and I was involved in this group for maybe about 4 years, and it was really helpful, and I just learnt so much from it and everything. Then I got to the point where I just felt like I'd gone beyond that, and so I and I was donating money and all that sort of stuff, and then I sent an email and I said, look, you know, I just feel like I've just gone beyond the need, but thank you, it was so wonderful and all this sort of stuff. And what tends to happen with this particular group is that when people want to leave, not unlike a cult, the person that's running the show seems to get very well, they've got a little me issue happening, and they think they take it personally, and so everybody that's sort of tried to leave has been given a very hard time. So I was, you know, a little bit, oh, what's going to happen, you know, if I say I really don't want to do this anymore, but to do it in a loving way. And anyway, I was just guided to say, look, you know, you've been a great teacher, and thank you for everything, and you know, I've just gone beyond this, and I didn't really have a problem in that way. You know, I said, so I haven't got an issue with you or with your ministry or anything, and that was it. But then I got an email, and it said, did you want me to keep sending you these audios? And then I thought, oh no, you know, because I thought I'd unentangled myself successfully and joyfully and peacefully, and then I got this email, and so I'm wondering how to respond to it in a loving way. I mean, how do you say to somebody, no, I don't want your audios?
That's it. You just said it.
Well, just like that.
How do you
your audio?
Well, you know, you can't be so responsible. Hello, Ilse. You cannot be so responsible for other people's feelings. There is a limit to how much you can do. Of course, by being like you seem to be, Linda. You seem to be quite concerned about being proper and not hurting their feelings, and being great. Yeah, being graceful. So that already is really, really wonderful. Because you're basically. Oh, one more. Ilse, I think that maybe your mic, if you can mute your mic if you don't mind, so that it avoids any echo. Thank you. So already you're being considerate, at least the way I heard you, shares are really beautiful. You're really careful to express yourself, as gracefully as you can. So I think it's already, you're already doing, you already have the right approach, and but just gonna go two places with this. First, on a practical level, you just can reply very simply, no, thank you. It's really great. Whatever, great watching them, and I'm looking in a different direction now, or I've outgrown them, or whatever it is, whatever your experience is, that I'm right now not interested, or I'm right now not, whatever it is, just pure and simple. So sometimes if other people's feelings get hurt, even when you are being, okay, Nabil, sorry, one moment. Okay, Nabil, wonderful, beautiful, nice to be with you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Okay, Nabil. Yalla, Allah ma'ak, Nabil.
Okay. See you.
Thank you. See you soon, Nabil. Bye-bye. Yeah, Nabil is in Europe, and say goodbye to everybody. Wonderful. So we're saying that, like, sometimes even when somebody's feelings get hurt, when you are being careful not to hurt their feelings, then that's what they need to go through. You know, they need to experience the self, the separate self that is so depends on Linda's response, my well-being or my happiness. If she responds no, oh my God, my feelings get hurt. If she responds yes, oh, everything is great. This sort of the condition that they're placing onto their happiness. Well, they need to experience that whenever you place your happiness into somebody else's hands, you know what? Guess what? It's the time is going to come where you're going to get disappointed, where whatever you're expecting from the other person is not going to get realized, and you're going to feel unhappy. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. In other words, it's not, it's not your mission to make sure that nobody experiences unhappiness. Unhappiness has a purpose, and it basically reminds you of happiness. It reminds you that, wait a minute, where is my happiness? It's obviously not in me having Linda respond to me in a certain way. So where is it? You start investigating, you start wondering, asking yourself questions. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that when you are living out of presence, meaning you're living out of love, out of the simplicity of being, not the complicated me, how should I behave so that I get more love? How should I behave in order for me to get more acceptance? How should I behave in order for me to feel better, to get more, to have a bigger audience, to get more popular, whatever. So as long as you're behaving from the separate self, you and the people around you, because we are transparent, will experience unhappiness. In other words, you and the people with whom you're interacting will experience that sense of separation. They will experience a you and a me, a you and a them. But when you are living and acting and speaking out of presence, just the openness, here you are, as you're, God's creature like everybody else, sort of one presence, one consciousness, just being together in these forms, in these manifestations around the same fire. Everybody dances a different dance, moves in a certain, into a different rhythm around the fire. And when you are approaching the situation, your friends, your partners, your colleagues, with that sensitivity, it's very beautiful. It's a totally different thing, and it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be happy. People go through whatever they go through as part of their path, but you're not contributing to the stream of sorrow.
Yeah, I suppose I just yeah, I thought there might be a way that I could be really loving and, I suppose
Presence is love. Presence is love, not the presence of a man or a woman or a me with my agenda, but pure presence, meaning consciousness. What we truly are is presence. What we truly are is the screen, is the openness. That's our true nature. That's there. And on top of that comes Magdi with his conditions, his history, his trauma that I want you to fix for me, or this complicated stuff, the stories. But the presence is love.
yeah, it's really a matter of the only way to really rise above, well, to not have mortal body mind issues, really, is just to get in touch with that presence.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
there wouldn't be, I would be coming totally from love. And that's, I suppose that's what I'm finding more and more.
Yes,
I am,
beautiful.
the more every day I'm finding, oh, such a peace. But then every now and again, a little body-mind issue will come up and I'll
That's okay.
feel,
You know,
ooh,
body mind issues can arise as the weather, Linda.
yeah,
I mean, there are the conditioning of being a separate me, of being a man, a woman, a father, a mother, a daughter, a Linda, a successful, a failure, whatever. All this conditioning to be like, oh, something is incomplete about me. I need to become somebody. All of that is pretty deep, and the journey to our true nature. In other words, the cleaning up of the muck and all those conditions, uh, you know, takes it takes a certain just the love for it, and also the acceptance that whenever there is something that's arising, it's just a residual stuff that's arising it's being liberated,
yeah,
rather than it's, oh my God, I still have problems. You can look at it as, wow, how wonderful. Look at this being released. Look at this trace of anger, or this trace of jealousy, or this trace of envy, or this trace of feeling that I'm not loved, or I'm unworthy. You just look at this, how it's releasing. See what I mean?
oh,
It can be looked
yeah,
at. It can be looked at rather than something happening to me, as something releasing out of me, releasing
yeah.
out of the body mind.
That's so good because I've been on a strict diet of cake and ice cream, and obviously this issue is coming up because I'm just now in between the lovely peace and the presence. There's these stupid little issues, and now there used to be hundreds of them, an endless amount of things outside myself to fix.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But
Well,
now there's this, oh, you're getting too fat. You've got to
well,
stop eating all the cake and ice cream.
you know, the body is our friend, and talks to us, communicates, with us. As it's all the play of consciousness. So that the body, as an instrument, has a certain uh, physical laws that govern it. And when you violate those laws, uh, the 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 game, gets a little bit more complex, complicated. Uh, so you also have to sort of uh, uh, include whatever messages are coming from your body and your body mind. Listen and be wise, uh, without creating an image of yourself as anything. Just allow also the wisdom to also pervade and fill the space, and fill your body, and fill your intelligence. And
Oh, okay, right. Instead of the cake and ice cream.
yes, right, and that's beautiful. Yes, and
Mm.
and and see how that flows, and how there is a
Yeah.
fulfillment. There's a fulfillment in intelligence and beauty, but that is not a form. That is not made out of ice cream. This doesn't mean that on occasion we don't have any ice cream, but it doesn't have a sort of a phenomenal form, but it has a nominal form. It has a formless quality, but nonetheless, it's it's very fulfilling. It's like with love, you know, you can't see it as a thing, but yet it's so filling. Actually, quite a few uh, people, when they fall in love, the body often loses a lot of weight because it sort
Yeah.
of feeds on love. You know what I'm saying? Or when there is a breakup, and then there is all these emotions. It's sort of then it can go either way. It can go into losing weight, or it can go into trying to cover up the emotions. But I'm drifting of the topic here. Yeah. So just contemplate that there is a nominal nourishment, which is that the consciousness has wisdom, intelligence, beauty, and love, and all that radiance is fills the body, fills the entire space, and can bless it and guide it.
Wow, that word you're saying, I've never heard that before. Nominal. Is that the same as formless?
Yes, yes,
It's
right,
not a form,
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, right.
So, in terms of our conversation, because we're always talking about consciousness, about the reality, what the reality of consciousness, the nominal is consciousness, and is the reality. The nominal is the reality. I'm sorry.
Are you saying the nominal is God?
Yes, yes. Nominal is
Right.
God, is
Oh, okay.
consciousness, is presence,
Right.
and it takes on the form of this perception. It takes on the form of bodies and minds and thoughts and emotions and bodily sensation. It fills the entire space. The entire space, the manifest realm, is made out of that. It's made out of this consciousness. Is made out of the nominal. So the phenomenal, the substance of the phenomenal is nominal.
Oh, okay. So the word, I'm just the word phenomenal. I'm just writing this down.
Yeah.
That refers to forms.
Yes, it refers to, for example, like thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings, perceptions, sensations. Yes.
Yeah. And is that
It
just
refers
like?
it refers to the world, body, and mind. The phenomenal realm is the world, body, and mind. And the substance of the phenomenal world is consciousness, which is the only reality. So the substance of the visible is the invisible, uh, the invisible. The substance of the form is the formless.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm not talking about formlessness as a concept. I'm talking about formlessness as consciousness, which is the reality, the only reality. Like right now, consciousness hears these words. This very moment, you don't even know you're Linda, and yet you hear these words. It's not Linda that hears these words. Consciousness hears these words. Linda comes a fraction of a second after.
yeah.
Using consciousness uses the instrument of hearing, of ears, and all the the biology of the brain and the biology of the body mind. It uses that as an instrument, but it's not the instrument that perceives. Like the binoculars do not see the bird. It is you, it is the astronomer that perceives the moon via the telescope. The telescope does not perceive.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm just thinking that the phenomenal realm is sort of like just lost my train of thought, Magdi.
Well,
Just
the phenomenal realm is a Garden of Eden for the sage. For, in other words, for a truth lover, the phenomenal world is a place of celebration and joy and sharing beauty and love. And from the point of view of the separate self, the phenomenal world is something that needs to be surmounted, fixed, repaired, resolved, settled. Uh, you follow?
well, yeah, but I just had this thought that the phenomenal realm, I always thought of it as being limited, as being like God being the unmanifest, the formless, the
Hmm.
whole, the infinite,
Yeah.
and then the phenomenal realm. It's sort of like everything gets squashed through
Right. Yes.
through the body mind, and then comes out as everything is separate and limited and contained.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
it's limited and contained, but
mm,
but it's only seemingly limited and contained. In other words, a tree, when you look at a tree, it might seem very limited and contained. The trunk of the tree is 2 feet wide, it's 30 feet tall, it has so many branches, so many trunks, so many leaves. It's limited. But what makes that tree a limited object is the mind. In other words, we define the tree through thought as a trunk, 2 feet wide, 10 feet tall, etc. So there is a mind event that constructs a limited form that we refer to as a tree. But the mind event, the thought and the perception and the measurement, all of that mentation is what's the substance of that? In other words, what is the substance of thought? What is the substance of mind? When you ask yourself that question, in other words, when you start with a limited form like a tree, and you ask yourself the question of, well, what is the substance of what perceives the tree, or what defines the tree, or what calls it a tree? When you go from the object to the substance of what perceives it and what defines it, you're coming to consciousness. You're coming to the limitless. So then you ask yourself the question, well, wait a minute. If the limitless is being perceived by, if the limited, excuse me, is perceived by the limitless, if an object is perceived by the infinity of consciousness, then what is the separation between the limited object and the consciousness that perceives it? What is the separation between this tree and the thought that calls it a tree, and the perception of that thought? So you will find that there is zero distance. You will find that there is zero distance between the perception of the screen and the thought that says I am here, which is not, there's both a thought and actually there is a non-thought, there is a presence that is I am here. When you ask yourself what is the distance between the perception and the presence, or even the thought that calls this a screen, that defines this as a screen, you will find that you're really coming, there's no distance.
Well, I think I'm sort of thinking that the distance, if I perceive there to be a distance, it's only because anything that I look through with my body mind, anything I look at, or anything that I look at through the body mind, is going to appear limited to me. That's the only way that it can appear. Because if I'm using the instrument of, which is, that's all I can ever see.
Yeah, okay, it appears limited, but it's important not to mistake how something appears with what is the reality of that appearance. Well, so there's no problem with perceiving an apple and an orange as being two different objects, or limited objects. There's no problem with that. The main issue is when you're perceiving yourself as immortal body mind. Then when you separate yourself, when you separate the body from consciousness, when you separate anything from consciousness, there is no problem with two objects, for example, being separate, seeming separate, or being separate. Two eggs, when you hit them together, they break. But the separation of two objects does not signify the separation of consciousness.
No. Yeah.
In other words, you could perceive on the screen two people on the screen, and they seem to be separate. There is a man and a woman, but they're one. They're united via the pixels, via the screen. The screen sort of unites them, makes them. They're not really separate. In fact, they're only separate as images on the screen. And what matters is both the understanding that I am not a separate body-mind from consciousness, to understand that, and also to come to the understanding in your body, in your experience at your feeling level, which is the most important, that at the feeling level there is no separation. There isn't a me that is separate from consciousness. That's the exploration. But coming back to your question, okay, yes, objects, are limited, but they're limited via the mind, and they're not limited via consciousness. And the reality of the mind is consciousness. The consciousness that perceives the mind, that perceives thoughts, sensations, perceptions, which we refer to as the mind.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, Linda. Yeah, nice to see you.
You too.
Okay. If anybody else has a question.
Hi, Magdi. Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes. Hello. Who is talking?
Raina.
Okay. Hello.
Raina.
Yes. Hello. Hello. One moment. Let me just lower my volume. Okay. Hello, Rena. Hello. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Hello.
When you talk, could you? This may sound simple, but when you talk about God or consciousness, what are you actually referring to?
Okay. That's a good question. Yeah. So the question is, when I'm talking about God or consciousness, what am I referring to? By consciousness, Rena, or God, I'm referring to whatever it is right now, this very moment, that truly hears these words. I am referring to whatever in this very moment truly perceives this perception. Not allegedly, not supposedly, allegedly perceives.
Okay.
So it's a direct experience right now, this moment, Reina. There is a perception, yes? You're perceiving a perception. It can be that simple. You're perceiving the screen or the wall or whatever you're looking at, yes?
Yeah.
Now, this you that perceives this perception right now occurs before Reina appears, before the Reina memory or the Reina feeling or the Reina sensation. Before that appears, there is that you, there is that consciousness. And it is through consciousness, Reina, that you perceive your feelings. It is through consciousness that you perceive your perception. It is through consciousness that you perceive your emotions. It is through consciousness that you perceive all perceptions. And that is the reality. The reality of your experience, Reina, is this consciousness, and not the Reina body-mind. The Reina body-mind appears in consciousness is a gift from consciousness. A gift in the sense that consciousness chooses to take on the form of this perception right now, out of its freedom and out of its sense of creativity, and out of its sense and love for play. Because in a way, Rina, this is a play. There is a playful aspect to being together right now, to experiencing this perception. There is a playful aspect to going to the sandbox and playing with the sand, or playing with your toys, or playing with whatever, there is a playful aspect to it. And consciousness loves to play. It loves to manifest. It loves to create. It creates everything, every perception, every sensation, every thought, every feeling, every emotion is God's creation, and it's God. It's a divine expression. It's an expression of God. God loves itself through everything that appears. Every expression is God loving herself.
But whenever I think about God or talk about God, I cry. Why?
Well, God loves to cry sometimes. God loves to cry sometimes. God loves to laugh. So it's all good. What is the problem with crying?
Well, because I don't know why I'm crying.
Why not?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not crying over happiness.
Well,
I'm not particularly filled with sorrow. I've had a very hard life, and I'm tired.
well,
And I want to go home.
Yes, I understand. The tiredness, Rina, does not come from having a tough life. The tiredness comes from being away from God, feeling separate. The tiredness comes from being this person living in a world, and the world is all around me, and I am this separate person. That's what's exhausting, Rina. But once you start to realize your true nature, you start to realize that, wait a minute, maybe I am not this woman. Maybe I am not this mother. Maybe I am not this daughter. Maybe I am not these feelings. Maybe I am not these thoughts. Maybe I am not these sensations. Maybe I am the consciousness that perceives all these perceptions while remaining purely 100% untouched, Rina. 100% untouched, like a screen. The screen, look at this screen. It takes on the form of these images. It remains the screen. It takes on the form of any images. So once you start coming home to your true nature, you start to wonder or release or let go of holding on to the Rina character, to the Rina feelings. You say, okay, God, you want to play Rina? Play Rina. You want to play Magdi? Play Magdi. You want to play crying? Play crying. That is the coming home. The coming home is resting in the presence that you are right now, Rina. Resting in the reality of the presence. There is a reality to this presence right now, Rina.
How do you know?
Well, you know, not me. I would ask you. I would ask you. Don't ask me. I would ask you. Are you here right now?
I heard you ask that before, and I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say, like, I recognize my spirit.
No. The question was not about your spirit, or was not about, I guess. The question is very simple. Like, are you here right now? Or are you here? Hello, are you here? Not as anything, just are you here?
You mean am I present? Oh,
just
my battery's gonna die.
Your battery, oh boy. Okay, well, if it dies, it dies. If it dies, it dies. What can we do?
Okay. All right.
Do you have a charge? Do you have a charger or?
I have it plugged in, but it must not be working.
Okay, well, see if you can fix that. We'll wait.
My computer died down and I plugged in my iPad.
Okay.
But anyway,
So the question was a very simple question.
Am I here?
Yes. Are you here?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. So you asked me, how do I know that I am consciousness? Okay. So I'm going to tell you how. I asked myself, are you here? And the answer comes, yes, I am here. So what is it that answered that question? Where did you go to check that you are here? Did you go to Rena? Did you ask, Rena, are you here? Or you asked, am I here? You asked, am I here, right? This I,
yes,
this I that is here is the proof of consciousness, is consciousness. Consciousness answering, hearing the question and answering, yes, I am. And that consciousness that answered, here I am, is not a dream. It is the only reality.
So we're here on this earth, in this world.
No,
we're not here.
No, now you're adding the earth and the world. Now you're going into concepts. My question is, are you here? Forget about the world, just being here. We're not here in the world. This room right now, you're in your room, right? This room that you're in here right now, Rena, you are not in it. It is in you. The room is in you. Not you, the body. I didn't say it's inside your belly. That's not what I mean. I mean, it's in you as consciousness. You perceive this room, don't you?
Yes.
You perceive this room. So therefore, the room is made out of your perception. Yes?
Yes.
Where is your perception? What is the size? Let me ask, what is the size of your perception? Is it 4 yards or 20 inches? What is the size?
I'm sure it's infinite.
Infinite. Perception is infinite. It's borderless.
I would think so.
Yeah, perception is infinite. It has no borders. So this perception, this room is made out of your perception. And your perception is infinite. Because your perception is made out of consciousness, is made out of you. It is your perception. The key thing is you awareness, not you, a woman, not you, a mother or a sister or a daughter, not you as consciousness. You, consciousness is whatever hears these words right now, Rena. And there is no denial. It's a self-evident.
And you're saying there's nothing else besides consciousness, right?
I am saying that consciousness is what is real, and it takes on the form of all appearances and all forms. It takes on the form of this perception. Now go to the sensation of your feet on the floor, okay? Your feet. Let's go to that sensation. So right now, consciousnness is taking on the form of this sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Put your right hand on your shoulder, on your left shoulder. Put your right hand on your left shoulder, or on your knee. Put it on your knee. Okay. This is a new sensation. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now consciousness is taking on the form of this new sensation. Now I want you to think of New York City. Right now, think of New York City.
Okay.
New York City. So, and also, if you can have an image of the skyscrapers in New York City, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, just turning your attention to this image of New York City and the thought of New York City. Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay. I see you're doing something with your laptop.
Well, I was trying to turn my laptop back on, see if I can
Well,
if I run out on my iPad.
well, let's just stay with this for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So right now you're thinking of New York City.
Okay.
I see that you're not.
I'm thinking of New York City.
Okay, so you think of New York City. So right now, consciousness takes on the form of this thought, of this image.
Okay.
Because this image requires consciousness to perceive it. If there was no consciousness, how could you perceive New York City, the image of New York City, or the thought? Consciousness is required, right? Consciousness.
Okay.
Hello, Anthony. Consciousness is required in order to perceive New York City. Because the thought of New York City without consciousness, what would that be?
Empty.
Right, it wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
Right. So consciousness is key to that thought. The thought is perceived via consciousness. Because you can remove the thought away. You can remove the thought away. Let's remove the thought New York City and let's bring in the thought Las Vegas. So you can change the thought, but the consciousness, if you remove consciousness, let's remove the consciousness and now think of Las Vegas. You couldn't perceive Las Vegas without the thought Las Vegas or the image of Las Vegas without consciousness, right?
Okay.
No.
I don't know that, but
Well, okay. Then try to think, perceive the thought of Las Vegas without consciousness. Go ahead.
but consciousness, mind is part of consciousness?
No. I'm not being theoretical. I'm asking you a very specific question. I'm asking you to please perceive. Go ahead and perceive the thought and the image of Las Vegas without consciousness.
Okay. Yeah.
You got it? Are you seeing?
I don't know how to do that. No.
So did you say yes?
I don't really understand what the difference between consciousness and mind.
Okay, no, not mind. Use awareness. Right now, you're aware of perceiving this image, right? This perception.
Okay.
Are you not okay? Yes or no? Are you aware of perceiving this perception?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, are you aware that awareness is aware of this perception? In other words, are you aware that this perception requires you, not you as a woman or as a man or as a 20-year-old, 40-year-old or 30-year-old, doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. Requires you as presence in order to be perceived.
Yes.
Okay, let me use a metaphor. Let's go to the night dream. When you are sleeping and dreaming of you're walking on the beach in the Bahamas. You're walking on the beach, yes?
Yes.
This image of you walking on the beach requires you the dreamer, to dream this, in order for these images to arise.
Right. They're my images.
Yes. So the images are not
and
possible.
they're images of me.
I'm using a metaphor. The
Yeah.
the dream images are not possible without the dreamer.
Right.
Without the dreamer, right?
Yeah.
So, and the images of you walking on the beach are made out of the dreamer. You follow?
Yeah. Yes.
They're made out of you. When you wake up, they're gone, but you're still there.
Mm-hmm.
use the same analogy, use the same metaphor to look at this perception right now. This perception is like a dream. Imagine it, to be like a dream image.
Dream.
But it requires you. It requires the dreamer, like the metaphor I was using in the night dream. Use that same metaphor to understand what I'm trying to say. That this perception you perceive right now, or the thought of New York City that you perceive as a thought, requires you as consciousness. Requires you see, when you are in the night dream and you are walking on the beach, or you are maybe a 12-year-old girl walking on the beach, you don't see you the woman on the beach, you the little girl on the beach. You don't see the dreamer. In other words, you're not aware. You don't see yourself in bed. You don't see the dreamer. All you see is the beach. You follow?
Yep.
Right. The same way here, in the waking state, you perceive a certain perception, or you perceive a Reina, but Reina does not perceive the dreamer. The dream character does not perceive the dreamer. Do you follow?
Yep.
Okay, one moment.
I'm about to die.
Yes, I could see that. I said that. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Well, it's okay. I mean, we can always follow this conversation. But the key thing I'm trying to say here is that consciousness is the reality. When you are in your night dream and you're dreaming that you're walking on the beach, that's the dream. The reality is you, the dreamer.
Okay.
Same thing here. The reality of this experience right now is not the image that's arising. It's not the feeling that's arising. It's not the thought that's arising. It's consciousness that is with it. You follow?
Yep.
So try to open up to that. Try to sort of explore that. In other words, make room in your contemplation for the reality of consciousness, not the reality of Rina, not the reality of her feelings, of her emotions, of her stories, of her children, of her mother, the reality of consciousness that takes on all these forms. You follow, Rina?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yes. So yes, okay, and we can continue to explore from further on. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Very beautiful. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah. See you.
Hello, Maggie.
Hello. How are you, Ilse?
I wanted to. I once was meditating. I was in deep meditation.
Yes.
And this has puzzled me for many years. I was meditating, and there was a moment in which me as a subject and objects totally disappeared.
Yes.
I was sitting. When I came back, and this I am saying like this because I have no other way to say
Okay,
it.
it's okay.
When I realized that I had been sitting there, I don't know for how long, but everybody has left, and I hadn't noticed it. I had no idea what happened in this lapsus. I've never been able to explain that, and then to reconcile that with being aware of awareness. And I lost everything. I mean, everything was lost. There was only, well, I don't know what there was because I wasn't there.
Yes, yes.
Kind of difficult, but and sometimes I have compared that with deep sleep, in which I am not aware also of my body or my mind, and it like dying, but I wasn't sleeping.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So
yes.
And I do remember that at the beginning I was very scared about what happened, and not being able to explain that in a some way. And now that I have been listening to you and other non-duality teachers, it comes back, and I would like to see if you can clarify a little bit. Too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Yes, that I would really like some clarification.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes, Ilse. So your comparison of this meditative state where consciousness experiences itself in the absence of world, body, and mind, meaning in the absence of time and space, is a good comparison to the deep sleep state. That in the deep sleep state, there is an absence of world, body, mind in the majority, in its most. But it is important not to confuse this state with the awakened state, which is really not a state in time and space, which is not an experience. And it's also important to be careful not to seek any experience, not to pursue any experience, since seeking any experience will feed the separate identity that is maintained by pursuing experiences, and of course also avoiding, resisting experiences. The awakened state is that similar experience that you describe, which is an experience of peace and absence of any issues, but in the presence, of the world, body, mind, unaffected, undisturbed by the world, body, mind events. In other words, it is not only consciousness knowing itself in the absence of form, but as well in the presence of form. That is the Sahaja Samadhi state, which is not really a state, the Sahaja Samadhi non-state.
In my case, it was like I realized some time after that I was running away from this state because I got scared about it.
Yes, some people get attracted to it, some people get scared from it, as I hear in your case, you got scared of it. Nothing, no state, no event can harm what you truly are. What you truly are is beyond all states, which are, of course, mind events, beyond all world circumstances and all feeling states. What you truly are is the aliveness, the awareness, the presence that is not a thing, that has no physical substance, no phenomenological substance, no mind substance, that has no substance, and yet is the substance of everything and everyone. The only substance, the only reality, but not in the physical sense, not in the phenomenological sense, in the nominal sense. That cannot be known via the world body mind, cannot be known via the senses, cannot be known via any means. It is a direct knowing of what you truly are, a direct knowing of the reality of consciousness via the reality of consciousness. So it is consciousness knowing itself directly via itself and recognizing itself as the only reality in the absence or in the presence, in the absence as well as in the presence of forms. And that experience of consciousness knowing itself, Ilse, is a peace and happiness, inner tranquility, undisturbed by world events. This is why the path to happiness is the path of happiness. The path to happiness is the path of happiness, the path of joy. The path to freedom is the path of freedom. It's not the path of effort and convolution and this and that. It is the path of love. It is the path of light. This is why it is. Somebody says goodbye, Kathy. This is why it is just to follow the happiness is a path of love, as long as your happiness is not dependent on an object, is not depending on a relationship, is not depending on a situation, is completely free of phenomenological attachment. And that is always available to you because your body, Ilse, is a very sensitive instrument, and it will speak to you. It will tell you, oh no, that's unhappy. Or it will tell you, oh, that's very beautiful. You can use your body, the bodily sensations, the feeling states, use them as expressions, as guides. When there is an unhappiness, you will find that it's a bodily contraction. This bodily contraction will point you to your belief, to your assumption that you are Ilse, this body mind, and I am Magdi, that other body mind. Whenever there is a separation between body minds, where there is an identification of me as a form, there is also an identification of the world as being a separate form, or of somebody else being a separate form. And when there is that sort of separation and identification with the form, there is a me and you relationship. And this me and you relationship is a contracted relationship that you will feel in your body. And when your body expresses that contraction, you will release that belief system, because you are not a woman, you are not a body, you are the consciousness that hears these words, that is borderless, that has no weight, that has no density, that has no shape, no form. Consciousness takes on all shapes and all forms, but it remains the substanceless essence that appears as all these perceptions and images and dreams and thoughts and sensations. But it doesn't become an object. It appears as all appearances while remaining consciousness. Like in the dream, Ilse, in the night dream, you dream of rocks and stones and skies and mountains and beaches and people in your dream. But the substance of the rocks and the beaches and the trees and the people in your dream, is thought, is consciousness. You are the consciousness that perceives these words, that perceives the sensation, that perceives the state of consciousness in the absence of objects that you just described to me a few minutes ago. You are the consciousness that perceives all of that. But irrespective of what you perceive, you remain, irrespective of whatever form you take, whatever perceptions appears to you, you remain the consciousness that right here, right now, hears these words. That is not a thing, not a form, not an object, not a limited thing, not contained in any container, Ilse.
It's I've heard you mainly at the end of your words in a different way, because I have been hearing you, but I was like, I don't know, I felt so often that the words were not very important. Sorry, I was listening, but you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. They go where they need to go. They go to consciousness directly. Consciousness touching itself. Consciousness being itself. Knowing itself. Well, I thank you all. Very lovely to be with all of you. It's time, for us to say goodbye, and we'll see each other soon. Okay, much love to you all.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Linda. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Nice to be with you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you too. Love you. Love you too. Much love. Okay.
Bye.